A Slice of the Community is made possible by the support of the First Horizon Foundation. Hello and welcome to another episode of A Slice of the Community. I'm your host, Jerome Moore, and today we're live in studio, joined by an audience with Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell. Welcome. How you doing, Mayor?
Doing very well. I can tell there's going to be a dance party in here after.
Depending on the question, you might be one tap dancing up there. I don't know. But now, thank you for joining us here on the Slice of the Community of Nashville PBS. And I want to get straight into it. You know, you just really completed your first year in your first term as mayor. What would you rank or grade yourself? You can do from 1 to 10, but you can't use 7, or you can do from A to F. So yeah, you can't.
Right. Can't use 7, huh?
Can't use 7.
I would go with 8 then. It's funny, I would have chosen 7.
So you can't do neutrality. You got to pick a side. You got to lean one way or the other.
No, and I'll tell you why. We're an interesting city. We've got the third largest metro council in the United States of major American cities, and so having served in that body for 8 years, it's been really important to me to have a good relationship with the new class of council. And so I think about where our public acceptance is, where we are as a city, and so I want to share with everybody. It was very encouraging to me about halfway into this first year. The Vanderbilt University poll, which they do every year and have done for decades, had started to show a dip of, when we asked ourselves, are we on the right track or the wrong track? We had been on the wrong track for a few years. And so a few months into taking office, I was very encouraged to see that poll come out and say a majority of Nashvillians believe we are back on the right track. That's an important metric. As we move through the things, when we started, we had 3 transition committees as we took office, and they were focused on priorities we had heard directly from voters over more than a year of having a conversation with the city through August and September of last year, 2023. And so when we took office, day one, we set up 3 resident-led committees focused on how Nashville moves, how Nashville works, and how Nashville grows. We launched into that. We set up a master developer agreement for the East Bank, knowing that we had committed previously to arrange for financing for a new stadium for the Titans. We hired Bob Mendez to be our chief development officer. He worked out an agreement that secured a century's worth of affordable housing, some new infrastructure priorities, some good workforce opportunities, and the Metro Council unanimously accepted that. Capital spending plan focused on priorities all across the county, 3 new elementary schools, lots of heavy fleet, the kinds of stuff that Parks needs to keep our parks maintained, emergency vehicles, things that our first responders need. And then just a bunch of just neighborhood scale stuff that was straight up our How Nashville Grows committee, unanimously supported by the council. We had a transportation improvement program that you can see my I voted sticker.
We'll get to transit.
We'll talk to that. Dedicated funding, unanimously supported by the Metro Council. And our first operating budget that we enjoyed working with Chair of Budget and Finance, Delicia Porterfield on, unanimously supported by the Metro Council. So as we've gone through this first year, these 4 top priorities we've had, we feel like strong public acceptance, majority of the city believes we're on the right track. We are here in this phase of 1 year deep, early voting, election day, November 5th, but anybody can check our work, nashville.gov/progress.
Well, I want to get into something that's really top of mind, especially when you enter office. A local publication kind of came right at you for lack of diversity, right? And then we know your whole campaign is building a Nashville for Nashvillians and building an equitable, and equity has always been the top of mind when you think about that. You come under fire a little bit when you talk about equity and transparency around that, specifically with just arts, metro arts specifically, even being called out or practicing white supremacist acts when it comes to those things. Could you unpack that a little bit and maybe give us a little concise dialogue of where we are now with that? How did you take that, being called a white supremacist, practicing white supremacy in the arts, when we talk about black and brown people, when we talk about equitable arts and no music and arts and things, one of the things that thrives Nashville, especially, Nashvillians.
Yeah, and I'll say first and foremost, it's hard to get through 30 days knowing you're on a journey to 100 days. I know as I've started to work with other mayors from around the country, one of the first things I heard was from a mayor who said, what did you do in the first 100 days? I built a team. Well, yeah, but what did you accomplish? Well, I built a team to last this journey. That was our mission for the first 100 days, was to build a strong, durable team that could last over the course of the term. And sure, in the first few weeks, you may look at it and say, well, we're inviting people to stay from a previous administration. We did have a few people we're very grateful did. We had a few people come join the administration from previous administrations. We wanted to have people that had experience, not just in Metro and the mayor's office. And by 100 days deep, we're incredibly proud of our team. When we looked at that first staff photo, it's incredible. We've got 4 of the Divine 9 represented within our administration. We've got 2 Spanish speakers. We think that, I know Davey Tucker is here from the Metro Human Relations Commission. We have relied on their inclusivics data to make sure that our administration is reflecting what the city looks like. And that was our goal from that standpoint. When you come to our staff meetings, when you look at what is today, 1 year deep, the administration, I think people will understand that we have been very intentional about hiring people who are qualified, who represent the geographic and demographic diversity of this city, and very proud of that team. Now, we had a very challenging conversation that occurred before I took office with regard to the Metro Arts Commission. But again, as we have moved through this year, we have worked very closely with the Metro Human Relations Commission, with the Metro Arts Commission, both staff and commissioners, and worked out a scenario where when I was on Metro Council, it was very exciting to be able to approve a budget from the council standpoint that added $2 million to a scenario where we thought arts organizations, large and small, representing the full diversity of Nashville, were going to thrive. There were some challenging conversations with our Department of Law, with the commissioners at the time. We have since reconstituted that commission. We have, again, taken the same approach, using the same factors that come from inclusivics to continue something that I give Mayor Cooper full credit for as my predecessor for diversifying our boards and commissions. If you look at that data over the first year, we have brought new people onto our commissions. We have brought new people specifically in our Arts Commission. We have reached a global settlement agreement with an additional $3 million. We know that Dr. Paulette Coleman, as the new interim director of Metro Arts, is working closely with that new commission, and we're thinking about funding strategies. But my personal attitude this whole time was, let's make sure we pay artists, let's make sure that our public arts funding strategy adheres to the principles of equity, and we paid everybody who has ever made a promise under any previous agreement using that additional $3 million, including small arts organizations, large arts organizations have been around for a long time, and muralists who didn't have a clear agreement. And we expect to have things go forward in a way that is stable, equitable, and builds for the future.
Pivoting to that, as far as we're talking about equitability and public safety, we know the Community Review Board has been something that's been contentious with the Community Oversight Board, which Jill Fisher is still leading the Community Review Board. Is there anything new with this MOU, Memorandum of Understanding? Where does Chief Drake play a part in that? Are you directly involved in making sure some new negotiations happen when it comes to community oversight, when it comes to policing, when it comes to public safety?
Yeah, sure. And we're speaking in a time where we've had some very troubling, challenging incidents related to public safety, but I was committed when I took office. For anybody who does not know this, last year the state preempted what was a community oversight board supported by the majority of Nashville voters who showed up to vote this, myself included. I think civilian oversight in policing is a very important principle. We weren't unique among Tennessee cities. Multiple Tennessee cities have this, multiple cities around the country have this. The state said, effectively, you've gone too far. They've taken a more stringent approach to kind of a law and order scenario, but they allowed jurisdictions across Tennessee to retain the idea of a civilian review board. When we took office, we had just a few weeks to meet a state-imposed deadline. We protected Director Fitchard of what is now the Civilian Review Board. We protected all of her staff. We made sure everybody still had jobs. And that they had a mission. And so we have since had an important conversation in the community. We have responded to a variety of things. We have made sure that they have what is available under state law to have independent counsel, and I'm very pleased with the progress we're making. We hope that within just a few weeks we will be able to announce successful completion of a memorandum of understanding between our Civilian Review Board and the Metro Nashville Police Department. So far, from our perspective as an administration, the Metro Nashville Police Department has participated in good faith. The Civilian Review Board has participated in good faith, and I've been there to make sure that any obstacles that are present are removed. Our Department of Law has participated in good faith. The Civilian Review Board now does have that independent counsel working on that MOU and representing them in any challenges.
Affordability. You know, you've heard this. Nashville is a tale of two cities, one for people who've been here and the other is for newcomers. What are some things that your administration is trying to do to separate that notion or perspective of Nashville? You see in other kind of southern states, specifically Alabama with Montgomery and Birmingham, their mayors are taking on the guaranteed income initiative to try to alleviate some of that affordability problems. Is that something that your administration will look to do as well, or something to pilot here in Nashville when you talk about guaranteed income, or just other ways to make Nashville affordable and really cut this two tales of two city kind of narrative?
Yeah, and it's challenging because it's more than two cities. It's about 4, 5, 6 different kinds of cities. You've got our unhoused neighbors. One of the proudest things that I fought across 3 different administrations before I took office, and we were finally able to cut the ribbon on the Strobel House. Permanent supportive housing, supporting 90 unhoused residents in some of the most challenging conditions where they might seek housing. It is specifically for people who may be at greatest risk for chronically homeless, and we are hoping to have it fully occupied before the end of the year. So that is a major project of affordability. We're trying to expand on that for people who lack housing security altogether. We have had conversations with 2 different organizations representing the concept of a guaranteed basic income. I was a personal contributor to an early pilot of that called Moving Nashville Forward. That initiative didn't succeed completely, but some versions of it are still ongoing. We're trying to make sure.
Is the Nashville Economic Justice Alliance one of those organizations?
They are.
I kind of do my homework. I kind of know my work, a little bit.
They have come into our office. We have talked to them, and we're basically making sure that, I guess I'll say it this way, when multiple different people come at you with ideas, you want to make sure everybody's on the same page before you jump into the pool in the deep end. And so we're trying to make sure we get our diligence done. It is one of a variety of strategies. We are actively exploring it.
Is that something that we could possibly expect in the coming budget for next year, or?
We need to see, because what the original idea was they were going to raise fully private funds, and that's why I was a private donor to that, a personal individual donor to that, and so we're trying to evaluate if we should support this as a mostly public-private partnership in the nonprofit scenario, or if there's an opportunity there. We'll obviously have the conversation with Metro Council. But this has also been a big year for expanding our affordable housing toolkit. In addition to opening Strobel House, we have seen extraordinary success of thousands of units of affordable homes created by MDHA through a mixed income payment in lieu of taxes model. We have gotten the Barnes Affordable Housing Trust Fund up over that $150 million mark. They've been able to leverage that for more than $1 billion to create, again, thousands of affordable homes. Some of those are already up and running and people are renting or buying. Some of those are under construction. Some of those, again, supplement what we did with Strobel House, and Park Center has been able to create some new permanent supportive housing projects there. So we have a mix of public and private facilities. We just launched this summer a new project called the Catalyst Fund. Vanderbilt University supported it, First Horizon Bank. The Housing Division has given us a great tool here. Private funders and Metro committing $20 million to this. This is a tool that lets us, if something is going to go on the market that has dozens to hundreds of people already living in a stable rent environment, mission-driven developers can come in, jump in, buy that, preserve it as long-term affordable housing. So we're trying to build new, preserve, help our unhoused population, and then in addition to all of that, the Housing Division at Metro Planning, within the next few weeks, we are expecting to release a unified housing strategy. That should follow on the Affordable Housing Task Force report that we have spent now 4 cycles investing in the Barnes Housing Trust Fund, exploring revenue opportunities, and of course, for me personally, transportation, access to transit, safe roads, streets, sidewalks are an affordable housing strategy. My pathway into home ownership came from being a bike commuter and transit user, a bus rider, someone who could walk as safely as a pedestrian. And we know that already today, if you are within a quarter mile of our fairly limited transit system, you're saving $200 a year more than your neighbors who are a little more removed. So what is on the ballot right now, our transportation improvement program, is part of our affordable housing strategy.
You mentioned the word preservation. Unfortunately, we just had a unfortunate incident that happened during the TSU homecoming where one person was killed, 9 people was injured during a shooting that occurred. It didn't have anything to do with TSU itself, but just the area, right? And you get this sentiment, this stigma that say, hey, this area, North Nashville, is a bad area. I disagree. I say it's been a neglected area. And our HBCUs have been an integral part to Nashville and what Nashville is. How does your administration plan to kind of right some of those neglecting historical systemic things that has made this area what it is? Not maybe the healthiest, but it's not due to the people, it's due to systemic things and being neglected for so long.
Yeah, I think that's why this was so challenging, is so many members of our team, so many members of the community were out not just on Saturday prior to homecoming itself for TSU, but also that Friday with a fish fry, a gala. TSU's homecoming is one of those wonderful, just overall HBCU homecoming events in Nashville and Tennessee. I had the extraordinary honor and privilege for 8 years of representing the entire Fisk University footprint, the Avon Williams campus of Tennessee State University. We have continued to try to invest in those, including in business incubation centers that have been originated out of TSU. We made a $9 million commitment to Fisk University from some one-time federal funding that helped ensure that Fisk University was not one of the HBCUs, sadly, we have seen closing around the United States. We have also enjoyed some support from the Biden-Harris administration. We have seen incredible money flowing into Meharry Medical College. Locally, one of the things I was proudest of before I left the Metro Council was ensuring that faculty, staff, and students at all 4 of our historically black colleges and universities could access our public transportation system without having to worry about fares. We actually just had to readjust because Meharry Medical College students, faculty, and staff were using transit at such extraordinary rates that we had to reallocate some additional money to continue that first year success. So great success story there. I think everybody in here understands that there have been some funding challenges with the state, some administration challenges with the state of Tennessee with regard to Tennessee State University, but they have been adding extraordinary talent across the board for academic and athletics.
And what is the mayor's role in being able to get some of that funding back from the state? Because I don't think a lot of people maybe understand what power that you have or don't have in trying to solicit those funds that have been neglected from Tennessee State University.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would say I fully understand what power I have or don't have. It is functionally, it is a state funding issue that they flow most of their funding in. We try to support where we can. I have been present at homecoming parades and other events around homecoming for TSU for decades. We stay in close contact with Representative Harold Love. He has been a fantastic advisor to our administration about things related to Tennessee State University. We're very fortunate to have multiple TSU alumni on our administration staff and our team. So we're fully committed to their success, but I tend to show up. I try to encourage community support for those programs. I think having Eddie George at the helm of the football team, watching Penny Collins not only pour into TSU's men's basketball team, but watching also TSU experience innovation. They have added a men's ice hockey program. We have watched Fisk add a national championship gymnastics program. We are in the American Baptist College scenario where they are celebrating their centennial as one of our HBCUs. We have watched both TSU and Fisk enjoy Grammy Awards for the Fisk Jubilee Singers and the Aristocrat of Bands, respectively. We have watched Meharry Medical College draw in a $175 million grant from Bloomberg and private donations on top of that. I mean, across the board, we are seeing a strength and robustness in our HBCUs, but it's hard because we have to have a great overall liaison and relationship with the state of Tennessee. And they have been concerned about some of the financial administration at TSU in particular.
And how can newcomers that may not represent the demographic of a North Nashville support those type of TSU homecomings, FIST homecomings, and just understanding the history and the part that plays in that community and not running with this stigmas that it's a quote unquote bad area? What would you say to the newcomers coming into Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be hard. I mean, this is a hard question because I want to be sensitive to the fact that I don't want people ever to engage in something that may run the risk of either gentrification or cultural appropriation. But I would say go listen to that music first and foremost. The Fisk Jubilee Singers are the reason we are Music City.
Correct.
And that they just celebrated Jubilee Day over at Fisk University on October 6th. Every single year, it's amazing. If you go listen to any generation of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, including in the moment that they won the Grammy, you are going to hear an incredible journey of music that includes, hymnals and traditional music and contemporary music as well. On Jubilee Day, it was amazing to hear I've Got the Whole World in My Hands with Stacey Abrams as sort of the keynote speaker of that day. But anybody of any background, you do not have to be an alumni, you do not have to be a student, you do not have to be faculty and staff, but you can go over and experience the Carl Van Vechten galleries at Fisk University and see world-class art and realize there's a partnership between Fisk and the Frist Art Museum. You can go to the Fisk homecoming games where historically men's and women's basketball programs show up on the basketball court. You can go to the TSU homecoming game and watch Eddie George lead the Tigers to a second year in a row of victory at Nissan Stadium. You can be a donor to any of this stuff. You can be a direct donor to any of our 4 HBCUs. Okay. It is very, very easy to access their campuses, to go see historic Fisk University's campus, to go see some of these athletic facilities and watch as these programs interact with us. It's amazing to have had TSU students partner with us, our local Department of Transportation, NDOT, and Vanderbilt University researchers as we create a new smart corridor along an area that's close to campus.
Now, let's go ahead and cap it off with this referendum, November 5th, Election Day. Early voting is happening now. For those who may not know,
Day 2 of early voting.
Go participate.
I got my sticker
you got your
on.
sticker
I went
on.
and voted today.
What does this mean for the future of Nashville going forward with this transit plan on the referendum for November 5th? And if it doesn't happen, we got to, the what ifs, unpack that for us a little bit.
Sure. We spent a lot of this first year. We had a lot going on. Again, nashville.gov/progress, you can see what we've been up to for the first year. Nashville.gov/transit, you can see one of our top priorities. In one of our very first conversations, I mean, a slice of the community, and I'm still sitting here with no pizza. I mean, our very first conversation.
We're not gonna do that, man.
Our very first conversation.
We're not doing that, man. There's a whole slew of pizza in the back for those who don't know. You're not gonna do that to me on television. You're not doing it.
All right, so we will look only to the future here. But in one of our very first conversations, we talked about the concept of dedicated funding for transportation and infrastructure. We are one of only 4 of the top 50 American cities that has not chosen to invest in ourselves. If you go to any location right now during early voting, if you go to your precinct on Election Day on November 5th, you will get past all the candidates on page 1, and ideally you will scroll to page 2, and you will see 250 words that describe a transportation improvement program that we think effectively serves the entire city with 4 key principles of sidewalk, signal, service, and safety, where we will build 86 miles of new sidewalk along corridors like Clarksville Pike, like Dickerson, like Murfreesboro, like Nolensville, some of the places that we have identified as the most dangerous in the city. The largest number of fatal crashes that we have seen occur on 6% of our roadways, and it's because if you walk along some of these major pikes and corridors, you will see the sidewalk eventually ends and you will see a dirt path. And it's not because people aren't walking. That dirt path exists there because people are trying to walk in an area that lacks both safety and dignity. So we want to give that through sidewalks and connect people up to those corridors so that you can walk to those schools, parks, and libraries close to you, so that you can walk to that small business district. We also want to combine that with upgrading 2/3 of our signalized intersections across the city to connect to the just opened traffic management center that NDOT has created that is state of the art. We want to run fiber to those. We want to know not just where my car is for one intersection, but if I am leaving a Preds game, if I am leaving a music performance, if I am leaving TSU's homecoming, that we want to know that we can give more green lights to everybody. With this smart grid that we're about to create, we think that everybody in the city can reclaim 10% at least of the time in the 56 hours we all spend in traffic in the worst commute in the nation, which is what Forbes magazine designated us early in the country, early in the year. The final piece of this is 24/7, 365 transit access. And all of this is linked together by the fourth principle, which is safety. It is all on your ballot at the very end. You can go to vote.nashville.gov to learn what is on your sample ballot, where your early voting locations are, and anything about the election.
Everybody give it up for Mayor Freddie O'Connell. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Give it up one more time. Yeah. Thank you all for watching another episode of A Slice of the Community. If you would like to continue our conversation with Mayor Freddie O'Connell and ask questions, please head over to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/@WNPT. Appreciate it.